Welcome to Wednesday Comics. Brought to you by rootsoftheswampthing.com and Siouxpercon 2018 Return to the Con.
Hey everyone, keep turning those pages.
Welcome to Wednesday Comics. To my right, we have Alex himself, the con man. Alex, how you doing, Alex?
Hello everybody.
And across from me, Garrett himself, G-Dub. How you doing, GB?
I'm doing good, I guess. GW, what is that?
Garrett Walls.
Your initials?
Your
Whoa,
initials.
dude. Use my full name again. No, I'm just kidding. We're way past that.
My name is Marvin. This is the Wednesday Comics Podcast. We're giving you a little short one this week. We call this, what do you call it when they're a book shorter? Nothing really. We're gonna
Wednesday Comics Light.
This is a novella.
We're Diet Wednesday Comics.
We are here to talk about Siouxpercon tomorrow. Will be actually, when you listen to this, Friday night, 8 p.m., Sioux Falls Convention Center, panel room 2 at 8 p.m. Pay your $10 to get in for the night, $30 for the weekend. Come see Wednesday Comics live. We'll be there, the three of us, John Boylan from Roots of the Swamp Thing, Mikey Martinez from Comic Book Genie, we have Dylan Jacobson from Champions Comics, and we have Tom Devine from A Comic Book Look. We'll all be there, and guest host one, the loosest guest host one will be there.
Don't forget hashtag.
Hashtag guest host one will be there. The Lucif, he'll be helping me out with these games. We're going to have a little game night, as you heard in the past. And, just having fun overall. So make sure you come out, and we will be there to say hello most of the day. Tomorrow we'll be around, and then Saturday, me and Alex will be around, and then Sunday we'll be in and out all around too. So come say hello. Come support Siouxpercon, and everybody there, Return to the Con, September 28th, 29th, and 30th. Sioux Falls Convention Center, siouxpercon.com to get your tickets online. You can also buy them at the door. So if you just want to come down and buy them, go ahead and do that. We are here to bring you 3 reviews, keeping it very light, very quick, because we'll be doing a live show tomorrow, so this is just a little extra. Let's start first. Heroes in Crisis, number 1. This is number 1 of 9. And from Tom King, Clayman. This is the new Tom King mini that is coming out about the superheroes going to Sanctuary. And what do you guys think? The first one of this, is it what you expected, Garrett?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was going into it expecting to enjoy it, but man, Clayman's art is, that guy can change his art style like no one I've ever seen before. Like, if you remember DC Nation number 0, if you remember even his work on Batman previously, like, he's been able to change his format so many times. But honestly, this art style, even though, like, I get it's not Alex Ross, but it reminded me so much of, like, Kingdom Come art, like how crisp it was, and, like, just iconic settings and things like that. It blew me away. And Tom King's writing, like, what a great way to kick off a comic. I mean, I was just jazzed from cover to cover, and I think it's everything we were expecting it to be, and then some.
Tomei Mori, the colorist, I think really helped with that a lot. Like, Clayman usually seems a little shiny, and he kind of matted it out, and it really did look like a painted kind of Clayman style. I really did enjoy the art too. The art was really great. I mean, just like Garrett said, I believe it's like a different kind of Clayman. It's not Clayman as we saw him like in Trinity, because it could very well have been the kind of Trinity Clayman that we saw, or I think he's done some Tom King Batman before. And I thought from at least an art standpoint, it was fantastic. And then from the writing standpoint, I thought it was really a good first issue. It's kind of like a mystery, and we don't know what's really going on. And I think there's a couple of points in there in which we get a little bit of seeing why they're going to Sanctuary, a little bit of that kind of PTSD that they kind of pitched that this book is about, like heroes, what do they do when they have too much? We get a little bit of that, but also a little mystery that I wasn't really... I knew something was going to happen, but I didn't expect that. Alex, what do you think?
Also, sorry. But I was going to say, also one of the most badass fight scenes I've seen in a long time.
The Booster Gold Harley Quinn was a great fight, but I was actually surprised on what I read. I mean, this was a great issue, like Garrett said. From front to back was spectacular. That art was amazing, but I actually went into it expecting Sanctuary to be a bigger building and to be there, like to have this first issue be about these other characters. I realized we got, nine panel spreads on a page about Booster Gold or Arsenal or Blue Jay, but I was expecting a little, I don't know, I was expecting more medical or more therapists going on. I realized that's maybe not the story that they are planning to tell, or it is throughout the series. I mean, it was a great book. And I was surprised. I wasn't expecting it, but it was well worth the wait. And again, Tom King can do no wrong in this book.
Well, I'm sure they're going to use, like in the future issues, like flashbacks, because obviously we're in spoiler territory here. When they get to Sanctuary, it's basically destroyed. The people running Sanctuary have been murdered. There's several heroes that have been murdered. And, throughout this entire issue, we think it might be Harley Quinn who's the one that killed all these people because they're fighting. And, we get to the very end and Booster and her are having this chat. It's like, God, you fucking did this, Harley. Like, this is your fault. And then Harley's like, I wish that were true, but actually, Booster, it's you that killed them. And I was like blown away. I was like, what a great cliffhanger. What it does pay homage to Tom King's Batman run where he messes with time and ends up making mistake after mistake after mistake, which really fucks with him mentally. I mean, I think it's just rewarding. If you've been reading Tom King's books, I think that was a really rewarding moment. Not the fact that he murdered people, but more so that like his psyche is so screwed up that he believes he still hasn't done anything wrong, or that he is still the hero.
I like the idea of we learned of some of those heroes throughout the book, and then Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman show up basically at the place they created for these heroes and to recover, and they show up and they're all dead. Like you said, it's like, who did this? And it's not even a question, like, for me, yes, like, who did it, but also it's kind of like Alex was saying, like, I think I expected this issue to establish more of the Sanctuary, but I had a lot of more questions being like, okay, so the robots that they're of Kryptonian, like some Kryptonian technology, and now they're robots who like take care of these people. Like, how does that feel for those heroes? Like, why are they there? Like, why are those specific heroes there and stuff like that? Which I'm sure we'll get. I'm sure it's going to be kind of like going back and telling those stories and stuff like that. But the whole thing, like, there was mystery. There was, like what Garrett said, like, there's plot twists. There is action. That fight was amazing. And for a fight between Harley Quinn and Booster Gold, which I did not expect when they showed up, I was like, okay, what's this going to be? What's she going to do to him? But you obviously can see that he doesn't want to fight. But then when he figures out that he's the one who killed them all, like what Garrett said, like, he's so broken, he doesn't even know what's going on anymore. And we saw that at the end of that Batman arc, that he's not in a good place. And he's probably in a worse place than the rest of them. And how's he get help after that? So it is an interesting start, a very different start than I thought it would be. But I really did enjoy it. It was really good. That was about I would say 10. I would say 10 for me.
Oh, 10 for sure. You know what, actually, so here's my Alex gripe. It is a 9.99999 because throughout the entire book, there's a yellow S on the back of Superman's cape. There is one panel where Superman is in the center of the panel and it's the top third of the page. No yellow S on the back of that cape, and I was just like, I shook my head and I'm like, how do you forget that? He's in the middle of the page. Otherwise, it's 10.
I would give this a 9. There is one thing that I can't forgive in this issue was the Superman is looking down at the Sanctuary building and all these dead bodies or unconscious or robots or what have you. And when he zooms in, you can see there's 4 people super close together. But then when you look at the distance picture where we would be seeing it, no one is at all that close to each other. And it bugged me too much. It took me out of the book when I was reading it.
But that's because the place he's zoomed in on, you can't see because it's underneath the zoom thing.
Sure.
No, you see that in the next panel.
I don't believe that.
See, that's an Alex gripe.
No one does Alex Gray better than myself.
That's right.
Garrett, I don't see this panel. Which one is it? Oh, I see it. Never mind. I found it.
Yeah, you found it. See that big empty
There's nothing there. Yeah.
shade of red?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. I forgive him because the art was so amazing.
I would say, though,
be consistent.
Even though this strings off of a lot of what Tom King's been doing in Batman, what he's been doing in Miss Miracle, we're assuming coming up because Miss Miracle was on the cover. Even if you're not reading those series, I always had to pick this up. I think it's going to be a DC event that's kind of different. And I think if you're into, especially if you're into non-superhero comics, I think this one is going to be what you're looking for. It's not superhero comics as you know it. It's superhero comics different. So I would say to pick it up.
But I see it as it's the Tom King staple, where Vision was not your usual Vision superhero robot book. Mr. Miracle is not your Mr. Miracle superhero book. Batman even sometimes is not your superhero book. It's the in the character figuring out who they are. And I think that's what this book is going to be. It's going to show you these weaknesses that these superheroes who are usually infallible, they do fail, and they do have personal problems, and they can't get over some of the things they've seen or some of the things they've done or some of the things they've thought. So this is one of those books I think it's going to be a really big eye-opener for DC fans and for comic book readers alike to see what Tom King can show you and to see what these characters can go through and how they evolve or don't evolve as characters.
I would agree. Like if in the past, if you got Tom King's thing, obviously if this is still the same vein, get it. But I mean, like if it's something that you've always been on the outside being like, I can't get Batman, that's ongoing. I'm not really an ongoing kind of superhero guy. Mr. Miracle, you didn't know who he was, so you didn't go into that thing. But this one is like everybody, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll get into this. I think it's safe to like jump in. You can just jump in. That's what I was mostly saying. Like, go and get it, and it's Tom King. You'll get introduced to this type of writing, and if you enjoy it, Mr. Miracle, Vision, Batman, go get those. Alex, what else do we get?
So we got Maneaters #1, written by Chelsea Kane and art by Kate Niemczyk. And cover art is Leah, holy crud, Minternique. Now, Garrett let me know earlier, before we even started the show, originally he wasn't going to get this book. And Garrett, what did you tell me?
It was amazing. Like maybe one of the best comics I've read in a long time. It instantly became I've only read 3 comics this week, but instantly became my pick this week. I was blown away by how great that comic was.
I was thoroughly surprised by this book. It actually had a lot more, I feel, relatable, even real life relatable aspects to it. I loved this issue. It was a great way to start, and #1s are a hard thing to write because you got to keep your reader enticed to get to the second issue, but you can't have it be too wordy or not wordy enough. This book was superb.
I thought that Kate's art was amazing. Like, and even like design, like some of the pages when they had, explaining her dad, things my dad says, things my dad loves. Like that's a great kind of, and I'm sure Chelsea Keane helped out with that. Like that's a great comic thing that you can do. And I really did like the design aspect of this book. I like to, officially, apologize to Rochelle Rosenberg because she did coloring for some issue of, Secret Empire, and I was like the worst color I've ever seen in my life. But in this book, it was great, and so I'm just gonna chop it up to that whole series was all messed up. Secret Empire, it's not really her fault. I really enjoyed the art. The art was way different than I thought it'd be. Even looking at that preview from the couple pages that were in that EW article, it really did surprise me. Still, like the design stuff, and then what Alex was saying, like even story wise, there's a lot to relate here. Even though like, I'm not female. There's a lot of female things in here, but it also there's that allegory being like, women are attacked for their bodies and how they go through all these changes. And what happens if like we take it to the extreme and saying that, yes, now they're scared of girls becoming women because of this that's happening. And like, it's a nice commentary on, social aspects of like people being afraid and not letting women have choices and like controlling their body. Now they have laws and like this task force that basically is like controlling women's body, making sure that they don't have period, so they don't turn into these cats. And like, I thought the whole thing was fantastic from that level, but also enjoyable from just like a comic like aspect of like, it was fun. It was way funner than I thought it was going to be. Like when you hear this concept, you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Here's the heavy-handed social commentary, but it's like entertaining, but enough social commentary where I'm like, it makes me think, but also I'm enjoying it the whole way through, which should be the best thing about what this book could have been.
Well, see, you say that.
Holy shit!
I don't know why I got
Garrett's God.
What's going on right now?
What's up?
Okay, jeez. I have 5 voices now. But in this book, like what Marvin was saying is like, yeah, you expected this book to be like pretty typical. Like, yes, this girls would turn into cats, and like, you know, when I heard cat, I was like, oh great, this is going to be like Hermione Granger in Chamber of Secrets. Like, literally looks like a cat, like a kitty cat. And no, they turn into like full on like panther looking cats, like that will completely fuck you up. And they even show there's some like murders happening throughout the town, and these bodies are not, there's pieces of them not even connected, and they show you everything. They show like heads severed from necks, from limbs, and I was like, wow. So they really created that sense of fear of these cats or these monsters, and that was so interesting to me. And like, especially when you get to the end of this where the main character, I think it's Maud, has her period, and it's like, oh fuck, like thank God her dad's investigating some murder right now, so he could be dead. Well, and I gotta say, oh sorry, go ahead.
Nope, finish your thought.
Oh, I was gonna say, the back matter was hilarious. Like, when there's basically like a PSA about like, hey men, like don't piss off women during this stage because they might kill you, or like there's like a little quiz you can take around your girlfriend, and like if you have 5 points or more, then run because she's more likely to attack you. I'm like, this is awesome.
I think what's great about go ahead, Alex. No, you go first. Well, you and me back.
You know, it's different when we don't do this show in person together. I can't see your face when you want to speak. And I think what's interesting is that the Maud, the main character, she tells us, the reader, that, you know, there's certain things that SCAT or even scientists have done to help rid the period from women. But, you know, sometimes it doesn't work. And she happens to be that one where all this stuff they had done to her still doesn't work to fix her. Not that that's a problem, but she still has her period. And I found this book was more visceral than I expected. Had funny moments. It felt like a mix of Bitch Planet and Sex Criminals for me, where it hits on real things, but also has a good way of having a sense of humor. Until I got to that one part where the panther jumps through the door, attacks her mom. And it's another character, another family going through this crisis. The mother gets destroyed, and the big cat looks over at this little girl and kills the little girl. And you don't see it, but there's chomping and splishing and splashing. I was like, holy crap, this book is disgusting. I mean, it was great. It was so visceral, and it really kept me in this book.
I think like that part of it. This book, like when books try to be shocking, like you can tell, being like, oh yeah, you don't do that because of like, yeah, you think it's like gross, and you think, well, like you can tell, like when a book is trying too hard. That scene alone is it doing it in a subtle way, like Alex said. It doesn't show you it. It could have done it. They could have shown you it, and you could have been like, that's gross. But just looking at the doll all ripped up with like blood around it is enough to be like, this is a hard scene to watch. And like Alex said, like the sound effects like written on the screen. That was enough. And I think Chelsea shows restraint there, and Kate and everybody involved in this book, to be like, this book is already going to be visceral enough, and like the subject matter and what happens here, that we don't need to show you. We will make you fear these guys, this happening to people enough, like show you how much of a crisis it is for these families by just, you know, hinting at it. Because, you know, and that's the great thing about this book, is that it knows when to be subtle, and it knows when not to be subtle. So it's subtle in its commentary. It's subtle in that kind of aspect, so they're not fully like making this book a whole joke. But then, like in the other aspects, there are jokes that are, right in your face, and literally make like raps about it, and it's funny. And I think that's the best thing I could say about this book is that like they take basically a dumb concept of like that stupid joke that men always say, be like, oh, she under period, you watch out, she's under period, she's gonna be angry, right? And then now like it's like, well, in this situation they turn into monsters, literally they turn into these cats. And then it's like she took that concept of people like not really respecting women going through these things, like how they feel about it, and being like, what if I made it so like, yeah, well, fuck you, they are going to turn to cats and kill people. What do you do then? And like, that's just a great concept. But it's not in your face. It's just like, I don't know. This book surprised me so much, being like, because I expected to read this and be like, it's a little too much for me, because I follow Chelsea on Twitter, and sometimes she's really political, and sometimes she's, she just tweets about, everyday stuff. And so I was like, this book could have gone the other way, but it didn't. And I actually did really enjoy it. And I would say that it is an Image book. Like, if you're not even looking at that commentary, that it's just entertaining on its own, and that the story is good enough that I think you should pick it up. And it really did enjoy it a lot.
This felt like an Image book. Like, this felt like Saga or even East of West. It felt like it's got this great story premise, and there really aren't the rules holding you back other than, don't shake the boat too much, at least in your first issue. But again, I loved it. This was a solid 10 for me.
10, absolutely. And God, if I could get me a copy of that questionnaire, I mean, I would use that with my girlfriend and be like, all right, it's a good time to back off right now.
I'll give it a 10.
And then Garrett would be single or dead.
I'll give it a 10 too. I really did enjoy it. And I agree with Alex. It really is. And I feel like for a while, Image books are also about pushing the envelope and seeing what you could do. And for a while, it's been more like, hey, here's just a crazy genre book. But I feel like this book is back to that true original vision of being like, let's push the envelope. Things you think you couldn't do in comics, concepts like this where you want to say something, have a reason to say it and show it through art. That's this book. And I really did enjoy it on that level too. So,
well, I like the superhero that Mod makes, and it's not a superhero that I've ever heard of before. Was it? Tampon Woman or Tampon Girl?
Tampon Woman, yeah.
You know what? It was one of those. It was like a joke, but it's one of those things that you could never make in one of the other big two. DC and Marvel would not probably be okay with that. That's too
risque.
Yeah, it's too taboo to talk about this. So I appreciate this book, and I hope this book keeps doing what it's done already in this first issue.
All right, moving on to the last book of the night, we got Justice League Odyssey #1, written by Joshua Williamson, a lot of W's in that, with art by Steven Sajic. What did you guys think about this book?
I honestly loved this issue. I loved this book. The art was immaculate. I mean, if Sajic was on more books, I would be getting more of his books, because every page looked great. Normally, I am a bias for Starfire, and I loved her in this book. They didn't over-sexualize her too much. She actually got to wear a costume that covered up everything. And I was surprised, being the guy who doesn't like spacious shit. I really enjoyed it.
I really felt like it was a space adventure more than actual just like space sci-fi book. Like, it really felt fantasy, like especially when they got to the planet. Just the way it was, it felt like an adventure. They all like weren't together originally. Cyborg and Starfire were going to this thing, and Azrael hopped on board without them knowing, and then they ran into Jessica on the way, and then they all crashed on that planet, and then here's Darkseid and said, I need your help. Like, I'm the reason why I called you guys here. Like, it all seemed like an adventure, kind of. Like, that's how, like, the Fellowship of the Ring happened. They all just, like, kind of showed up and like, hey, we should be part of a team. And I did like that aspect of it. They just threw them together, and like, yeah, that's why that team's so weird, just because they weren't supposed to. It's not like they picked each other. I mean, Starfire and Cyborg did, but everybody else is just like, they're there because, they ran into them, and now they're choosing to be part of that group. And Sajic's art's fantastic. Coloring's fantastic. Everything about it, that it just felt like an epic kind of book. And I think it's the Justice League book that I'm looking for.
I completely agree. art was fantastic. That issue in the other Justice League books where it's too wordy and you can't even see the art do its magic. We didn't get that much in this. I think this is the first time in years where I read Cyborg and was like, holy crap, he's a cool character. Never have I ever thought that. Like in this book, I was like, okay, Cyborg deserves to be on this team. He's a badass. Starfire was great. Jessica Cruz was great. And I gotta say, that Azrael costume, so awesome.
It is bitchin'.
I think all the costumes look great. Even Cyborg.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's the first time I looked at Cyborg and was like, he doesn't look dumb. Like, it actually looks cool.
It looks functional. And then speaking of, I mean, I got to give it to the bad boy, Darkseid. Looks awesome in that new costume.
He does. He actually looked like Thanos to me. Like, he looks like a young Darkseid. He looks like he's almost even more domineering than what we're used to seeing him as, almost a big giant rock monster. He looked legit. My other thing with Cyborg is that every other book he's ever in, he's always the geeky machinist, where in this book he's actually just a character. He's not being held back by being half man, half robot. He just gets to be Victor Stone. And I enjoyed that.
And he's the
he's not like the Watchtower for once. Like, I'm so sick of him always being like, I mean, that is his character, but I'm sick of him always being like central ops, like, Cyborg, can you patch the Wi-Fi to this area?
Yeah.
Like, what?
He's just like a tool.
He has
for them.
more capabilities than that.
And then this one, the art his suit was fantastic. It was kind of like a mesh. It looked less mechanic and more kind of organic, kind of like steel, kind of. And I like the way that looked. And I mean, the art's fantastic. I could talk about it for days. But I did like how, like Alex was saying, this guy's a leader, and I can see this here. So, like, when he was on the Teen Titans, he was more in that leader aspect, and he's with Starfire now. And I never knew why he was on Justice League. Like Garrett was saying, it was more of a tool than him being an actual part of that team. And this time in this book, like, you can tell, like, oh no, I would pick him for my team too. Like, he's definitely leading that team.
I think between Justice League Dark, Justice League, and Justice League Odyssey, Odyssey is by far the strongest Justice League book coming out of No Justice.
I would say
100%.
I would say that I mean, it has to keep this up, definitely. Like, I won't know until, like, it's 3. Like, this could definitely be a good issue, and then it sucks from here on out. But I would say it's definitely the strongest start out of all those.
Okay, yes. Strongest number 1 issue.
And the most potential. Like, this is the first one where I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to keep getting this. I mean, I did enjoy Justice League Dark a lot, more than you guys did. But also, like, your complaints about it were valid, and I did agree with, like, hey, there's way too much, like, exposition. But in this book, I was like, no, this is good. Like, this, subjectively aside, I think this is a good book.
I realize this is a question for more off the show, but did you drop Justice League Dark, Marvin?
No, I have it still. I got it.
Okay. The way you said it seemed like you dropped it. I thought, oh, really? You liked it more than us, but then you dropped it?
No, I said.
Hey, I would say that's crazy, but Marvin's done crazier things.
That's true.
I only had one thing that I didn't like about this book, is that Starfire and Azrael are in this book, because their dialogue is, like, very, like, Starfire doesn't know English 100%, and Azrael's, like, talking, like, and both their tones are kind of
Victorian English kind of thing.
And so, like, I was like, this could get annoying. It's a little bit annoying in this issue because you have both of these guys. Luckily, Jessica and Cyborg can even them out, and now we have Darkseid. And Darkseid also talks like Azrael and Starfire, so I'm like, I hope it's not too much like them being royal and being like, yes, like, very, like, no kind of personality to their voice is what I feel like. But we'll see. I mean, everything else was fantastic, so it outweighed that for me. But I can't give this book a 9 just because of that. Like, that part did annoy me a little bit. Otherwise, it's a strong 9 for me.
Well, I think the only thing with that is Azrael's character to talk like that.
No, I didn't say it was out of character. I just mean that's weird. I mean, since they're all in the same book together, I noticed it more because I'm like, dude, you all 3 are talking the same. Like, can we put some tone on your voice? Like, some sort of personality?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I never see Azrael as really having much of a personality. So at least it seems fitting for him. I'm waiting to see if Darkseid becomes more of a douche and is all like, I'm Darkseid, suck it.
I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to give it a 10. I think all 3 of these books were 10s for me. This is definitely an enjoyable read, and I'm very much looking forward to issue 2.
I would give Odyssey a 9. It was really strong. I think there's a little more I expected from it. but it was such a good start that I'm excited for issue 2 to come out. And I've got one side note, Garrett. I realize you probably haven't read it, but I read Batman 56 tonight. Marvin, you are 100% right. Probably one of the strongest issues of Batman I've ever read.
Oh, the one with Nightwing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I read that. Yeah, it was really
that
great.
came out last week with KG Beast.
Yeah. Dude, I caught up on all my books, so I'm okay. I got a couple left to catch up on. But
it was amazing.
It was awesome.
Heroes in Crisis #1, Justice League Odyssey #1, and Maneaters #1. Make sure you pick this up at your local comic book shop or online at wherever you get your comics online. Very strong comic week. It makes me excited to read the rest of my books because we got some good heavy hitters in there too. Doomsday, Black Panther. So I'm really excited to read the rest of the books. It's a great week. And you know where you probably can get some of those comic books or something related to them if you're interested. Siouxpercon 2018, Return of the Con, will be there tonight on Friday when you hear this. And Saturday and Sunday, stop on by or, go throughout the vendor floor, see the people that are there, support your local shops there or anybody that's there. Siouxpercon is for a good cause. Come out, it's for literacy. We're teaching people to read via comic books, and that's what this show's all about, reading, baby. You don't get to go out there and sometimes about having fun. Come out to Wednesday Comics Live, 8 p.m. Friday, September 28th, Panel Room 2. Garrett, Marvin, Alex, Guest Host 1, Roots of the Swamp Thing, Comic Book Genie, Champions, and a Comic Book Look will be there, and we'll be having some fun. I already got the script. This thing's going to be hilarious. So you better be there, because I will. And my name is Marvin.
I'm Alex.
I'm Garrett.
Hey everyone, we'll see you tomorrow or tonight, and keep turning those pages.